The moment the guard stepped in front of him, everything went silent, like the world itself had decided this was the line he wasn't allowed to cross. Armin Halim tightened his grip on his son's small hand, feeling the warmth of those tiny fingers, as if it were the only thing anchoring him to dignity. The bright lights of the gala shimmered behind the glass doors, laughter and music floating out like a world that clearly didn't belong to him.
This is SK Stories, where every story reminds us that kindness, empathy, and second chances can appear in the most unexpected moments. If you enjoy stories that inspire the heart, press, like, share this video with someone special. Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to SK Stories for more powerful stories.
Sometimes decided your worth before you even spoke. Armin had spent weeks preparing for this night. Not because he wanted to be part of the glamour, but because he had no other choice. The invitation had come unexpectedly, an exclusive charity gala hosted by one of the most powerful corporations in the city. It wasn't addressed to him personally, but to a former colleague who had long since moved away. Armin had hesitated, unsure whether he had any right to go. But then he had seen the name of the foundation tied to the event, the same foundation that had once helped his late wife during her illness. That memory alone had been enough to push him forward. He wasn't here for luxury. He wasn't here to pretend to belong. He was here because sometimes life doesn't give you doors, it gives you moments. And you either walk into them or spend your life wondering what might have been. But now, as the guard blocked his path, that fragile courage began to crumble. The guard's voice was firm, rehearsed, and unyielding. Armin could feel eyes turning toward them, conversations softening as whispers replaced laughter. He hated this feeling, the way humiliation crept up his spine, the way it threatened to break him not just as a man, but as a father, because Xavier was watching. And children always remember how their parents stand in moments like these. Armin tried to explain, his voice steady but quiet, offering the invitation he had brought. The guard barely glanced at it. To him, Armin was just another man trying to slip into a world that wasn't his. And maybe he was. But what the guard didn't see were the years behind this moment, the sleepless nights after his wife passed away. The endless shifts he worked to keep a roof over their heads. The quiet sacrifices he made so his son would never feel the absence of love. He had learned to carry grief like a shadow, always present but never spoken about. He had learned to smile even when his heart was breaking, because his son deserved light, not darkness. And tonight, all he wanted was a chance. Xavier squeezed his hand gently, sensing something was wrong. His small voice broke through the tension, soft but filled with innocent certainty. He looked up at the guard and then at his father, as if trying to understand why someone would stop them when his father had always taught him that kindness opened doors. That single look from his child nearly shattered Armin. He was about to turn away, about to accept defeat and walk back into the quiet life he knew when something unexpected happened. From inside the grand hall, a woman paused mid-step. Celine Virek, the CEO hosting the gala, was not someone who missed details. Her entire life had been built on noticing what others overlooked: patterns, people, moments. And right now, something about the scene at the entrance caught her attention. It wasn't just the interruption or the guard's rigid stance. It was the child. There was something about the way the boy stood, calm, composed, yet quietly observant, that felt strangely familiar. Celine moved closer, her presence immediately shifting the energy of the room. Conversations hushed as she approached the entrance, her gaze fixed not on the man, but on the child. And then, in a moment that no one could have predicted, everything changed. Her expression softened, her eyes widening with recognition that seemed almost impossible. Memories, long buried and carefully sealed away, rushed back with overwhelming force. Years ago, before she had become the powerful figure she was now, Celine had been just another struggling professional trying to make her way in a ruthless world. It was during those years that she had crossed paths with a woman kind, resilient, and fiercely protective of her family. That woman had once helped her in a moment of vulnerability, offering support when Celine had needed it most. And now, standing before her, was a child who carried that same quiet strength in his eyes. Celine's heart raced as she stepped closer, her gaze shifting from the boy to the man beside him. Armin looked confused, caught between embarrassment and uncertainty. Unaware of the connection unfolding before him, the room held its breath. Because in that instant, Celine Virek did something no one expected. She smiled, not the polished, practiced smile of a CEO, but something real, something deeply human. And then she spoke, her voice carrying across the entrance with a warmth that dissolved the tension like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Everything changed in that moment, not just for Armin, but for everyone watching. The guard stepped back immediately, his authority dissolving under the weight of her presence. Guests exchanged glances, curiosity replacing judgment as the scene shifted from exclusion to something far more powerful. Armin stood frozen, unsure of what was happening, unsure of how this moment had turned so suddenly. But Xavian simply smiled, because children have a way of recognizing kindness before adults do. As they were welcomed inside, the grand hall no longer felt like an unreachable world. It felt like a place where something unexpected, something meaningful was about to unfold. The night that had begun with rejection slowly transformed into something extraordinary. Celine spent time with them, asking about their lives, listening with a sincerity that surprised even her closest associates. And as Armin shared pieces of his journey, his struggles, his resilience, his unwavering love for his son, something shifted in the room. People stopped seeing him as an outsider. They started seeing him as a story of strength, of sacrifice, of quiet courage. And in a world obsessed with appearances, that kind of story was rare. But the true impact of the night wasn't in the attention or the recognition. It was in what followed. Because Celine didn't just welcome them, she changed their path. Opportunities opened. Doors that had once seemed impossible began to unlock. Not because of charity, but because someone finally saw what had always been their value, determination, and heart. Armin's life didn't magically become perfect. Struggles didn't disappear overnight, but something fundamental shifted. Hope returned. And sometimes, that's all it takes. As the night drew to a close, Armin looked down at his son, realizing that this moment, this turning point, was something Xavian would carry with him forever. Not as a memory of rejection, but as a reminder that even in the hardest moments, something unexpected can change everything. Before we reach the end of this story, I want to ask you something special. If this moment touched your heart, if you felt even a glimpse of what Armin felt standing at that door, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters more than you think, and if stories like this remind you of the power of kindness, of second chances, and of unseen struggles, take a moment to like and share this video. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to believe that their moment is still waiting for them. That night, as Armin and Xavian walked away from the glowing lights of the gala, the world felt different, not because it had changed, but because they had. And sometimes, that's where every real story begins.